beautiful people, and welcome. In this video, we are talking about how to multiply improper fractions. Now, we're going to start with improper fractions, then we're going to learn how to convert fractions from improper to a mixed number, and then we're going to learn how to multiply mixed numbers, which is going to be the same thing as what we're doing today. All right, beautiful people, let's go ahead and get started. Now, the multiplying improper fractions, in my opinion, is like super duper easy. That's my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. But after coming from adding and subtracting fractions, this is not too bad. How do you multiply fractions with one word? Across. I'm going to repeat that. How do you multiply fractions using one word? Across. So what we're going to do is simply, we're going to just multiply across. And we're going to have 7 times 3 over 2 times 2. And we're going to multiply. What's 7 times 3? 7 times 3 is 21. What is 2 times 2? 4. Now, if you are in my class, you know that this is possibly not your final answer. You have to make sure and see if there's anything that you can simplify or reduce. Now, here's kind of like a trick. You can always look here before you actually multiply. You can look here and see if your numbers are prime or not prime. If they are not prime, sometimes what you can do is you can rewrite them in the form of prime numbers and then see if it factors. Because if I factor this, two factors that multiply to 21, 7 times 3. 7 is prime, 3 is prime. Well, that's what we already have. 2 times 2. 2 is prime, 2 is prime. That's already have. So sometimes your factors are exactly the same thing. So I have a 7, a 3, a 2, 2. There's nothing to cancel. This is your answer. I did not plan that, but it totally rhymed. Let's try another one. Now notice the different ways that you're going to be asked these questions. Here you have a dot. Here you don't have a dot. You have parentheses. But if you have parentheses like this, that means multiplication. This means multiply. And how do we multiply using one word? Across. And all you have to do is just multiply across. 4 times 10. 8 times 2. So here's one example. I know that 2 is prime, but 8, 4, and 10 are not prime. So what we can do is kind of really quickly determine what those are. I have 4, 10, 8. Those are not prime numbers. 4 is 2 times 2. 2 is prime, 2 is prime. 10 is 5 times 2. 2 is prime, 5 is prime. 8 is 4 times 2. 2 is prime, 4 is not prime, so I have 2 and 2. So what you can do, oh, sorry about that. What you can do is instead of writing 4, you can write 2 times 2. This is 4. And instead of writing 10, you can write 5 times 2. Instead of writing 8, you can do 2 times 2 times 2. And instead of writing 2, well, actually, 2 is prime, so we can only do that. If you do it this way, sometimes it helps you to kind of save you a step to simplify. So I have a 2 on top, 2 on the bottom. Let me change my color here. 2 on top, 2 on the bottom. That means I have a 1 times, 1 times. I have a 2 on top, 2 on the bottom. That means I have a 1 times, 1 times. That goes away. I have a 2 on top, 2 on the bottom. That means I have a 1 times, 1 times. So what is left over? I have a 5 left over. I have a 2 left over. Everything else went away. Those cancel out. So I have 1 times 1 times 5 times 1. That is 5. 2 times 2. That goes away. So I have 1 times 1 times 2 times 1. That means 2. And this is my simplified answer. Sometimes using prime factorization before you get your final answer helps. Let's do the next one. Again, notice the difference in notation. This notation had 1 parentheses. This notation has 2 parentheses. Sometimes what you're going to see is parentheses around like a negative number. Sometimes you'll see a negative like this. Sometimes you'll see a negative like this. If you see a negative like that, don't panic. It's okay. Just take that negative, put it to the top number. So what you really can have is this. Negative 3, 6 times, again, times, there's a secret dot there, negative 5, 3. And how do we multiply fractions? We multiply fractions across. So I have negative 3 times negative 5 over 6 times 3. Now, immediately, I can see things that can cancel. I haven't even done any prime factoring, but I can cancel my 3's out. I have a 3 and a 3. Now, I'm not canceling that negative. That negative stays. So 3 goes away, 3 goes away. So now I have a 1 times. That means I have a negative 1 times. That negative didn't go away. So now what do I have? I have a negative 1 times negative 5. I have a 6 times 1. So again, you can choose to use a calculator if you need it. 6 is not prime. So what we can do is we can continue prime factoring. But I know negative 5 is prime. I know 5 is prime. I know 5 is not inside of 6. So I know this is not going to simplify, but I can check. I have a negative 1 times a negative 5. What about 6? 6 is 3 times 2. 3 is prime, 2 is prime. So I have 3 times 2 times 1. Notice here that I do not have, besides that 1, I have nothing else to cancel. But we're not canceling 1. We're just multiplying 1. Negative 1 times negative 5, that is a positive 5. 2 times 3, that's 6 times 1 is still 6. So this is our final answer. Let's go more. Let's do some more. Now, sometimes you're going to see a whole number. When you see a whole number, all you have to do is convert this to a fraction. So 8 is a whole number, but mathematicians are lazy. So there's a secret 1 underneath this. So what you really have is you have 8 over 1 times 4 over 3. Remember, parentheses like this without a plus or a minus outside of the parentheses, keyword outside, that means you're multiplying. So how do we multiply fractions with one word? Across. So you have 8 times 4, and I have 1 times 3. So again, let's prime factor 8, 4. I know 3 is prime, so I'm going to leave 1 times 3 here because I have a 1 times 3. I have a 4 times 2. 2 is prime. 4 is 2 times 2. And I have 4, which is 2 times 2. So I don't think anything's going to cancel because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 8. This is 2. So because I only have 2's on top, I have 3 on the bottom, that means nothing can cancel, and my final answer is going to be whatever this is multiplying. 8 times 4, or 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 32, and I divide by 3. Okay, this right here is super important for me to note. I just wanted you to see this answer. For example number 5, because this minus is inside of the parentheses, this is not a minus. Because it's inside of the parentheses, this is not a minus, this is a negative. That means this negative belongs to the 5. So what do you really have? You have 10 thirds times negative 5 fourths. Again, this is secret dot there. Mathematicians are lazy, so we don't want to write that dot. We have better things to do, right? So how do we multiply fractions? We're going to multiply fractions across. So we have 10 times a negative 5 over 3 times 4. And again, you can choose to multiply now or you can choose to prime factor. I'm going to choose to prime factor. I have 5 times 2 for 10. 5 is prime, 10 is prime, so that means I have 5 times 2 times negative 5. Bottom 3 is prime, 4 is not prime, but we know that 4 is 2 times 2, and 2 is prime, so I have 2 times 2. That means I can simplify just a little bit. I have 1, 2 on top, 1, 2 on the bottom. That becomes 1 times, 1 times. So what do I have? I'm going to bring this down just for some space. So what do I have? I have 5 times 1 times negative 5. And I have 3 times 1 times 2. Again, don't worry about the 1. The 1s doesn't change anything. We're just multiplying. So I have 5 times negative 5, which is negative 25. And I have 3 times 1 times 2, which is 6. All right, beautiful people, that is it. That is how we're going to multiply improper fractions. Make sure that you understand the parentheses. Make sure that you understand that negatives like this are not minus. We're still multiplying. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next class. Bye.